Hi everyone, it's Jose, and I just wanted to let you know that we've gotten a lot of response, and I have a lot of people asking, how do I win a multiple offer situation, or how do I beat out other agents who have offers or buyers that are interested in a particular property that my buyer is also interested in? Now, it's a really good question, actually. I'm going to talk about 5 ways that we can go ahead and overcome this. First off is you want to make your offer look as good as possible, because when that agent presents it to the seller, you want that to kind of look and stand out in a way where the other offers that are on the table don't look as good. So for one, you always want to contact the listing agent before submitting an offer and go ahead and pick their brain. Ask them questions. Have you received any offers before? If so, why did the seller reject them? What are they looking for? A lot of times the listing agent will be open to, yes, we've received offers, but they've rejected another offer because it came in at this price. They're not willing to accept anything less than that. Great. Good ammo for me to have. On top of that, you want to ask the agent, is there any particular way that your seller is wanting an offer to be presented? What is your seller looking for? And they'll kind of divulge to you, hey, listen, they don't want a long inspection period. They want you to do a substantial escrow deposit, so on and so forth. So having that dialogue with the listing agent is huge. So don't blindly submit an offer without talking to the listing agent. That's number one. Number two, what you want to do is you want to make your offer look great. So first, to start out with, is if you're in a multiple offer situation, everyone's probably going to offer list price or over list price, maybe $1,000 or two. In this case, I always recommend that you just go ahead and go $500 or $800 more. It's usually that odd number that'll win it. So if you have a home listed for $200,000 and you submit an offer for $200,000, thinking your buyer might have a chance by submitting a full price offer, why not just do $200,500? If that's the case, then if somebody else submitted an offer for $200,000 and I'm the seller and I'm looking at both of them, this one's $500 more, why not go with that one? Number 3, escrow deposit. Escrow deposit's huge. So if you're only putting down a 1% escrow deposit on a $200,000 offer, that's a $2,000 escrow deposit. That just shows how strong of a buyer you are, and that if you walk away from the deal, you run the risk of losing that. In some cases, I also will recommend to my buyer that if they really want to win this, that we go ahead and put down a 2% escrow deposit, or at least we can add a secondary additional escrow deposit after our inspection period is over. That way, when they're looking at that, if you're putting down a $2,000 initial escrow deposit and then you're putting down an additional $10,000 after your inspection period is over, that offer is substantially stronger than the others that are only putting down an initial escrow deposit of $2,000. Because the buyer has more to lose. And if the buyer has more to lose and more to risk, then me as a seller, I'm thinking this person's in it to win it. Number 3, in this situation, we're going to look at the closing date. A lot of times it's simple just to ask the listing agent, what would your seller like as far as a closing date? Do they need more time because maybe they're building a home or they're purchasing another home? If they need more time, my buyer's willing to do a 60-day closing instead of a 30-day closing. Or in some cases, a seller would want a quick transaction, and if I can get my buyer to close sooner than the average 30 or 45 days, I'm going to put that as a closing date, and in those situations, that may win the offer over for us. Number 4. If I'm writing an offer and I have a long inspection period, say my buyer wants 15 days to inspect the property. When you're up against other offers, a seller is going to want the buyer to have the least amount of time to wiggle out of the contract. And in these cases, I'll try to ask my buyer and my home inspector, do you think if our offer is accepted that we can actually get it done in 5 days per se? If we can get the inspection done in 5 days, that looks better. So if I'm a seller receiving an offer and I say, wow, they've only had 5 days for an inspection, that means 5 days to wiggle out of the contract and 5 days will go quick. So I like that better than if I received another offer that's wanting 15-day inspection period. And of course, last but not least, let's talk about financing. Financing is a huge part of this. In most cases, a buyer is limited to what they can qualify for, whether it's conventional, FHA, VA, USDA. In these cases, we want to make sure that our buyer looks as strong as possible. So we want to talk to the lender and say, lender, typically we know that the buyer needs a certain amount of time to close this loan. How quickly do you think you can wrap this up and get this closed? If we can put a lesser day contingency on our financing, It's going to look better to the seller too, because now there's less time for that buyer to walk away from the deal. So if I'm a seller and I accept an offer, and that offer says that the buyer has 30 days to get approved for a loan, and if they can't get approved for a loan in 30 days, then they could cancel the contract and get their escrow deposit back. But if I receive an offer that says the buyer is going to get approved for the loan in 20 days, that looks a lot better to me than them having 30 or 45 days. So keep that in mind. And if you could find a lender that can have quick turnaround or close it quicker because they have maybe in-house underwriting or whatever it might be, that's going to be advantageous for your buyer in the end. So there you have it. Here are a few tricks to get your offer accepted over others, especially if you're in a competitive market and things are tight. If you guys have any other suggestions, please comment below. I'd really like to talk about whatever ideas you might have, and it would be useful for our viewers as well. Other than that, comment below, subscribe to our page, and until then, I'll see you next time.